Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dolph Gillen. I'm the director of the IRENA Innovation and Technology Center. We would like to start our webinar, which is focused on the progress we have made with the REmap analysis since our last update. Many of you were present at the council where we presented on 24th of June, so that's now more than 2 months ago, and we worked hard during the summer, and what we want to do through this presentation is provide an update of the status of the project and the analysis, and we will also present preliminary findings and messages, and finally the outline of the publication and the outreach. So if we go to the project status, and I should also say that we are planning for a presentation of about half an hour, perhaps 40 minutes, and then if there are any questions, we're happy to answer them, and you can also submit these questions in the meantime. So point one is the today's project status. I want to recall the objectives of the project. As you may recall, there were 3 of these. First of all, pathways for a doubling of the global renewable energy share. Second, technology options to meet the objective. And third, opportunities for international cooperation to realize this vision. So these were the 3 objectives that were outlined in the work program 2013. Now you can operationalize these questions, and so one of the issues then is what will happen to renewables share in business as usual, so with policies in place or under consideration today. What additional technology options exist and where can they be applied in terms of geography and in terms of sectors? What are the costs and benefits of these options, and what policies are needed to make it happen? And of course, finally, who needs to do what by when to make it happen? So if we look at the countries engaged. At the latest count, it's 26 countries covering 75% of global energy use, and these countries are listed here. You can see that they have a different color coding. So what it means is that for 25 out of the 26, the analysis has started. For 13 of them, we have shared a zero-order draft analysis with the country focal points and experts. And for the remaining 13, the analysis is in progress, and we hope to share that draft write-up this month. The write-up for these countries has a uniform format, and the resulting document is somewhere between 10 and 20 pages long. The analysis is one part, but the second and perhaps more important part is the dialogue with the countries. So we've asked each of these countries to nominate a focal point and to nominate experts we can work with in the REmap analysis, and in most cases that is now in place. The country analysis will be supplemented with a regional analysis to come to a truly global picture. So we're looking into regional analysis for Africa, Europe, Latin America, Caribbean, South Asia, and Southeast Asia. And for that, we are discussing cooperation with the Institute of Energy Economics in Japan, with OLADE, which is an energy organization for the Latin America, Caribbean region, with ADB for Asia, African Development Bank, and the World Bank. So I talked about the country dialogue, and we have started a set of meetings. We've had already 2 meetings in Germany, 2 meetings in Korea, 2 meetings in Japan, a number of exchanges in Turkey, 1 meeting in Australia, and a second one planned for next month, and a meeting in the UK, and we've planned an upcoming meeting in India. We are happy to expand that list of meetings further. If you think it's useful to have a face-to-face meeting, we're very happy to prepare a mission. If you think it's more efficient to do it by email or by phone conference or webinar, of course, that can also be arranged. Now, if we move to the timeline, the target is to have a draft roadmap, a draft global roadmap ready for review by the management and by the countries by November 1st. And we think that around that time will also be a good time to call a meeting of all the countries engaged, where they can jointly discuss the findings. So we're currently discussing the details of that proposal, and we hope to send you an outline next week. The draft roadmap, including the revisions following from that feedback, can then be discussed at the Council. That will take place at the 10th and 11th of December. And so we can have a roadmap ready for launch at the Assembly that will take place at 18th and 19th of January. I want to recall that the objective of this exercise is not target setting. We recognize that the doubling objective is an aspirational objective, and its origin was very much, let's say, a political statement by the Secretary General of the United Nations. And what we're trying to do through this exercise is assess the implications. What would be the implications of this aspirational objective? So we're not trying to develop a single scenario, because a single scenario could be interpreted as a target setting exercise. Instead, we decided to focus on REmap options. And so for each country, the analysis results in a portfolio of options, and then the country can decide what it wants to do with that portfolio. And these options are characterized by their potentials and by their substitution cost, plus we look into other benefits such as external effects and macroeconomic factors such as job creation. The options, that portfolio of options can then be used in a number of ways. It can be used to explore investment needs, subsidy needs, opportunities for international cooperation. It can be used as a basis for discussion of deployment policy needs, etc. To make these this portfolio of options accessible, we decided to rank them in order of increasing cost. So that results in a country cost curve. And if you have these country cost curves and you add them together for all the countries, you end up with a global cost curve. So that will be an important means of communication as output from this exercise. And to assess the potentials and the cost, we have developed a spreadsheet tool. I think we're now in version 9.9. So a lot of work has gone into that, and we hope it will facilitate the analysis and make it also accessible to the country experts. It certainly facilitates the sharing of our analysis to explain what we have done, so you can verify it. And as said, we consider the analysis as a starting point, and in fact we give priority to the country dialogue. So what's happening over the coming weeks and how you engage in this analysis is really critical to make it a success. This slide shows you schematically how we have assessed these REmap options. So as said, they are characterized by their substitution cost and by their potentials. And for the assessment of substitution cost, we looked into the cost of the renewables options based on today's cost and based on future cost reductions, for example, based on learning curves. But we also looked at the cost of the option from the reference scenario that is being substituted. And finally, in recent days, we've created a first cost curve that also includes external effects. I'll show you that in a minute. On the potential side, we looked, of course, into the basic data from our Renewable Energy Atlas. Most of you are familiar with that. We looked into the uptake in the reference scenario and into a wide range of studies that assessed what individual technology options could mean for countries, including our own sectoral studies for manufacturing industry and for renewables in cities. So that brings me to the second part of this presentation, which is the preliminary findings and messages. The reference scenario is important because it reflects what will happen with policies in place and policies likely to be put in place in the coming years. And a first observation is that we found that some countries have detailed scenarios and objectives for 2030, while for other countries such a planning framework is still lacking. Where that was the case, then we've tried to prepare an estimate based on either scientific literature, on sources such as the projections of the International Energy Agency, and where necessary also we've made our own additional estimates. These reference scenarios already include important energy efficiency gains. For the time being, we have decided not to consider additional efficiency gains on top of the reference scenario in our analysis. And that is something that we want to do on the longer term, but we're currently discussing whether it still fits within the framework of the coming REmap publication. Now, if you look at the reference scenario uptake of renewables, so in 2010, the total share of renewables was 16.7% of total final energy consumption, consisting of 8.7% modern renewables and 8% traditional biomass. That's the three bars you can see on the left. And then if you look at the trend in the reference scenario, then for 2030, we're at about 15% modern renewables and 5% traditional biomass, giving a total of nearly 20% total renewables. So overall, a growth from 16.7 to 20% in 2030. Now, we analyzed the additional options, these REmap options, and we conclude that that can bring us to nearly 30% renewables in 2030. So we're getting close to this doubling objective. If you look how the gap is being filled between the global reference scenario, so the sum of these national reference scenarios and the total uptake of renewables with all the REmap options considered, then the REmap options account for around 50 exajoule of total final energy consumption. And you can see in this pie chart that a limited number of countries account for the bulk of the uptake. So China, US, India, Nigeria, Indonesia, Russia, Mexico, Ukraine and Germany are indicated separately here. And these countries together account for around 2/3 of the uptake. As I said earlier, an important way we want to represent these options are these cost curves. So what this graph shows, it's a fairly complex graph, so I'll take my time in explaining it. On the x-axis, it has the share of renewables in total final energy consumption. So as I said, in the reference scenario, it takes us to around 20%, of which 5% is traditional biomass. So if you take the traditional biomass out, the starting point is 15% modern renewables in 2030. And what we did is we analyzed a total of 353 REmap options across these 26 countries, and we ranked them in order of increasing substitution cost. And what is remarkable is that there is a substantial opportunity for increased renewables uptake on top of the reference scenario with negative costs, so which results in a cost saving. That takes you to nearly 22% renewables. And then beyond that point, there is still a very significant renewables potential, but it adds a little bit to the cost. If you take the total cost saving and the total additional cost to get to this 28-29% renewables share, it's around 57 billion US dollars in 2030, which is less than 1% of the total energy cost in that year. A new analysis from this week is we also considered external health effects. So we look at a number of external effects. One of them is health. And if you add the health effects, these are, it results in a more positive evaluation of renewables, because the health effects of fossil fuel use, as you probably know, are significant in certain fields. For example, the coal-fired power generation or transportation is an important source of local air pollution. And of course, it's the same for indoor air pollution from traditional biomass. So if you account for external health effects, the cost curve moves somewhat downward. So you move from the blue curve without health effects to the brown curve, which has health effects in there. And if you look at the total cost for that brown curve, in fact, it's negative. So it results in an overall cost saving to get to that doubling objective. So I think that is already a very significant finding. From the initial discussions we've had in countries, this is something that raises a lot of excitement, but also raises a lot of questions. So I think we need to have a rigid evaluation of this finding, and if this is indeed reconfirmed, I think this is a key finding from this analysis. Now, we can break down that cost curve into individual options, and that's what we've done here in this graph. So it's the same cost curve I've shown you before, but now with the different bars, we've indicated the individual REmap options. And a key message from this graph is that there's a lot of green in this graph. And if you see these green bars, that's bars where biomass is being applied. So around 60% of the total renewables potential is based on biomass. So that's another key message, the key role that biomass plays across different sectors. This is again the same data set, but a different way of looking at it. Here we have split the options by sector. So you can see the contribution of different sectors to the total uptake of renewables in total final energy consumption. And we've split it here into electricity and district heat, being supply sectors, and then industry, heat applications, thermal applications in buildings, industry, and transport. And the total contribution of these REmap options was around 15 percentage points, 14-15 percentage points, and around 4 percentage points of that are power sector options. So only about a quarter of the total, perhaps a third of the total, is power sector, is the contribution of the power sector. So that is an important message, an important finding, because it means that the bulk of the additional action on top of the reference scenario, so the bulk of the REmap options, around 2/3 of them, are in the end-use sectors. So that is the main area where additional policies need to focus to reach this global doubling objective. So to summarize these key insights, global up to 30% renewables is possible at approximately zero cost. If you look at the uptake of renewables in the reference scenario, it takes us to about 20 percentage points. We think that significantly more is possible, and the additional potential is can be especially found in the three end-use sectors: industry, buildings, and transportation. The role of the power sector of this increased potential is around a third, and in the total potential, so the additional uptake in the reference scenario plus the REmap options, the share of the power sector is around 40%. Biomass plays overall a key role in all the sectors and accounts for around 60% of the total potential. We also find that it's important not just to look at direct substitution of fossil and nuclear fuels with renewables, but also increased use of electricity is a way to raise the overall renewables share because of the high potential of renewables in the electricity sector. And the results we've shown you take us to around 28–29% renewables, but that is not yet let's say 35–36% objective some are talking about in the Sustainable Energy for All framework. So we're also exploring what could be done more, and there is a number of strategies. For example, so far we have not considered early retirement of capital stock, so where you would replace, for example, a coal-fired power plant before the end of its technical lifespan. If you consider that, then the potential will increase. I mentioned that we assumed that the energy efficiency will improve, but only to that level that is assumed in the reference scenario. If we assume that further energy efficiency gains are possible, because that is one of the other Sustainable Energy for All goals, then that can also help to raise the renewable energy share, because higher energy efficiency results in a lower final demand, and therefore the same absolute amount of renewables will yield a higher percentage of this lower final demand. And a third strategy could, for example, be a more structural change. For example, more public transportation could result in a higher share of renewables. But of course, these type of options has an important lead time, and we need to have a closer look whether it can really play a significant role. This brings me to the third and last part of this presentation. It's about the outline for a publication and the outreach. So the current proposal for the roadmap document is to structure it the same way the as the items are mentioned in the work program. So we will have a heading on pathways, a heading on sectoral results, and a heading on international cooperation. And under these headings, we will discuss, first of all, the REmap options. As I said earlier, we consider these options as the core finding from this analysis. We want to elaborate the potentials at the country level and at the sector level, and we think that the cost curves can help to summarize some of these results. The discussion about investment and cost of renewables is critical. So we will discuss investment and subsidy needs in more detail. And in terms of international cooperation, I showed you an example of that. For example, end-use sectors deserve more attention. That could be an area for more cooperation. I mentioned the importance of bioenergy. That could be another area. And these type of findings can then inform various fora such as Sustainable Energy for All, various regional energy cooperation platforms, and also, of course, the IRENA work program 14 and 15 that we are preparing at this moment. We plan a roadmap document that is relatively short, so in the order of 75 or 100 pages. But we have a lot more material available that is potentially of interest, and we hope to make a substantial share of that material available online. For example, our technology cost projections, biomass supply cost curves, external effects, and job effects. And we would welcome any suggestions how we can improve the outreach further. So in terms of planned events and meetings, we will visit India on the 20th of September, Indonesia 30 September and 1st October, followed by Australia 3rd to 5th of October. We'll be present at the Singapore International Energy Week, where we'll have a special session that will take place from the 28th of October to 1st of November. And as mentioned, we would be happy to discuss our country analysis with the country focal points and experts, or if you prefer a regional meeting, we can also try to organize that. I mentioned the proposed workshop in Abu Dhabi, and the goal would be to discuss the draft results I've shown you, and I hope by then we'll have even a lot more detail to share. We can discuss then the draft roadmap and the key messages that follow from that, and can have a discussion what the policy implications would be and the implications for various aspects of international cooperation. So we hope to send out a more detailed outline in the course of next week. Now this concludes this the presentation. As I said, we are planning a lot of dialogue over the coming weeks, and that will give us then an opportunity to get more detailed feedback from you. but also if there are any questions, then it's now a good time to raise these. I have already received a number of these questions that you have raised during the course of the webinar. One of the questions was how we're going to deal with increased energy efficiency. And we've started a discussion with the energy efficiency hub under Sustainable Energy for All that is currently being established in Copenhagen, and the plan is to have a meeting and explore the idea of a similar roadmap for energy efficiency, and that is due for next month. Another question was, how confident are you about the remarkable cost results? First of all, it's a very positive result for renewables, and it's clear that this is something that will gain a lot of headline attention. So we really need to make sure that this is a robust finding. So we've started a number of complementary analysis. One of them is focused on the learning cost, because the cost, this cost curve I showed you was for 2030, based on our cost projections for 2030. And of course, somebody has to fund the cost reduction, so these learning costs to get from today's cost level to where we project to be in 2030, and we want to quantify these costs. So that is work that is ongoing at this moment. So a second aspect was that some experts have raised issue of system integration cost. So the share of renewables in power generation in some of these countries gets to a high level, in some cases more than 50%, if you deploy all REmap options. And especially if the share of variable renewables is high, it means that there is a need for grid adjustments, be it smart grids with demand-side management, be it a backup capacity, or be it perhaps electricity storage. And of course, that type of measures increases the overall cost of the REmap options, and that has not been captured by the options as we have analyzed them so far. So we are working with a number of groups that are applying energy systems analysis models, and these type of models are well suited to capture these type of cost effects. So we are comparing their results with our results for a number of countries, and based on that we will estimate what the additional grid costs are to make this transition happen. I see no further questions at this moment, so we'll end this webinar here. I thank you very much for your attention. We plan to repeat this exercise in 1 or 2 weeks at a time that is more convenient for colleagues from the Asia-Pacific region, because it's not possible to find a time that suits everyone. So I hope also by that time we will be able to include the latest results, so we'll keep you informed on when that meeting will take place. If you have any further thoughts or comments, please let us know by email, by telephone, or whatever works for you best. So this will conclude our webinar, and I thank you very much for your attention and wish you a nice day. Thank you.